I just wanted to show you my basic indoor aquaponics system. This is designed around a 55-gallon tank system and is set up for your living room. If you notice at the very bottom there are 4x4s. This is to help distribute the weight of the system, which comes in at close to 1,300 pounds. So you don't want to put this directly on the floor so that the rails don't dig in. The rockwork here is set up for African cichlids, and which is what I'm going to be putting into the tank today. I'll have videos of them shortly. And the system is built around a small fountain pump, which is difficult to see. I've disguised it purposely, but it's back in the corner here. It's an 18-watt pump capable of putting out about 4 feet of head. You need about 3 feet, and so this one works pretty well. I also have, and this is only for the startup portion of the system, a UV sterilizer. Since I'm using used tank water, I want to give my plants a start as quick as possible. All the supports underneath the shelving is 2x4s, lots of them, to distribute the weight. The plywood that comes with the system is not nearly strong enough, and in the case of the grow bed, you can see I have a number of different 2x4s there. Underneath is the plumbing. We'll see if we can get a shot of that. Just drilled a hole in the bottom of the stock tank. It's a 50-gallon Rubbermaid stock tank. Nothing fancy. The wire straps hold the plumbing in place to keep it from falling out. It's not glued together, and it just dumps into the corner of the aquarium. On top is the grow bed. This is river gravel from Home Depot, and in the center of this whole setup is a bell siphon. That's this guy here, and we'll talk about that later. But shortly this bell siphon will start dumping water out when the water gets deep enough, and shortly we should be able to see the water coming up through the gravel. Yeah, it's up here now. Once we start seeing a puddle, the bell siphon will start dripping. Yep, here's the water coming up. Not sure if you can see it or not, but it's there. So we'll come over here and we'll take a look at the bell siphon because it's getting ready to kick. You can see there's nothing going on right now, but here we go. Here's the dribbles. And suddenly it will just take off. Okay, now it's on full siphon. We'll watch the water level in the tank will rapidly rise. Okay, we're getting to the tail end of the siphon process. It's starting to break siphon now. that is pretty much it for this cycle. So we'll go up and we'll take a look at this bell siphon. Alright, so what we're looking at is the bell siphon sticking out of the top of the standpipe. The standpipe is 4-inch PVC, and I've cut a lot of slots on the bottom so that the water can get through, but the gravel cannot. Nothing fancy about the standpipe. You can also drill holes instead of cutting slots. It really doesn't matter, as long as adequate amounts of water can get through and not starve the bell siphon. And the bell siphon itself, nothing fancy. This is a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe, and again, I've just taken the 2-inch pipe and I've drilled some holes in the bottom of it, about 1 inch or 2 above the bottom. What you can see here is the siphon break. What I've done is I've taken a piece of hard plastic aquarium tubing, and it's just held in place with rubber bands, and the bottom of that is where I want the water to stop. Once the water level gets below that point, air will enter the top of the bell siphon and break the flow. This is just a 2-inch slip fit cap with a clean out connection. I've drilled a hole in the top of it and put in the regular 1/4-inch aquarium tubing that you use for just about any kind of aquarium setup. Inside of the bell siphon is the standpipe, and this is just a piece of 1-inch standpipe, 8 inches tall, which is exactly what I want this thing to cycle at. Make the noise go away here. There we go. Use a little Vaseline to make it seal up tight, but essentially the standpipe is what determines when the siphon will start. Since I've got it set up a little over 8 inches, which is the depth of my gravel bed, then when it gets right up to the gravel, it will kick and start siphoning out. What you hear, hopefully you'll be able to hear it, this is the pump that's pumping in. You can hear it now because it's pumping in above the water level. As soon as the water level gets to the height that the end of this tube stops, then the noise goes away. But this needs to pump in about 1 gallon per minute, because if you have too low of a flow, the siphon will just trickle and it will never kick. And that's the basics with this. Right now I'm planning on growing turnips and basil in this particular top, and we'll update this as they grow. Down here where the standpipe drains, you notice it drains above the maximum water level of the aquarium. It's important not to have any back pressure on this, otherwise the siphon won't be able to stop. Well, that's pretty much it for now. I'll update you as I add fish. Alright, I've added the first of the fish. I have a bunch of yellow labs in some other tanks that I have around the house, and so I put some juveniles in here. Now you can see that the water looks really murky. That's because I've now inoculated the tank with beneficial bacteria that I got out of the filter that these fish were previously using. So in a few hours this water will clear again, and the gravel bed up top will be fully inoculated with the beneficial bacteria, and the system should need no other type of filtration system. Okay, it's planting day. I went to the local nursery and I rescued some really bedraggled looking basil, and that's what we're looking at here. So I planted this side of the stock tank with some sweet basil, and also this side. I think they'll recover pretty well after a few days in the aquaponics system. And over here I have some handy wipes that I cut down so that the seeds wouldn't get lost into the rocks, and these are some bush beans that I'm hoping will sprout. And along here are tiny little turnip green seeds. Turnip greens are one of my favorites, and you can't get them in the stores this time of year. But in any event, I'm going to cover this with newspaper and keep the light off the seeds while they're sprouting, but this will keep the seeds from going down into the dirt or gravel, as the case may be. And in here shortly we will see the water rise up and wet the seeds. This is kind of cool. You'll see when the water comes up just a little bit more. Just have to be a little patient. Okay, a little more. The constant moistening and then draining away makes sure that they still have plenty of oxygen and they never get waterlogged. It's exactly the same kind of principle that's used in hydroponics, only in this case it's fish instead of chemicals. And here comes the water. There it is. And before you know it, the siphon's going to kick and these guys will be drained dry again. We should hear the trickle in just a couple of minutes. We'll watch the siphon kick here. There's the trickle. The little siphon hose will fill up with water when the siphon finally kicks. If you watch it closely. There it is. And the water is rapidly dropping. And when this thing gets to the point where it wants to start to finish the siphon cycle, that little tube will empty out again. Periodically this fills up with money stuff, and when it does you need to get a little pipe cleaner in there or something to clean it out. There it is. All done. Another cycle will start. Over and over again. Okay, I brought some fish up from the basement. These are all African cichlid peacocks, except for the few little yellow labs that I'd put in earlier. Let's see if we can get one of the big males to come out here and parade for us. Oh, they're both right there. Isn't that good? They're pretty spectacular fish, especially when they're displaying. Let's see if this is starting to kick now, so we'll see how it disturbs the fish or not, as the case may be. They have a lot of rock work here that protects them, so shouldn't cause much of an issue. Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother him much at all. There's some of the little yellow labs. They seem to have claimed this little back rock corner. Oh, there's one of the peacocks. Ruby red male. Well, it's been a couple of days. I just wanted to update you on the status of the grow bed. As you can see, a lot of this basil has rebounded just fine. Started to get some new growth. Same over here. And the little baby turnips are starting to sprout. Got lots of little roots coming up. The beans are starting to germinate. You can see one right there starting to come out. And I've put a couple of embellishments on the system to help out. This, I put a piece of 1-inch PVC pipe that goes down to the bottom of the grow bed, and I've attached the an extra long piece of plumbing here, so it goes all the way to the bottom. And what ends up happening is now it's very easy for me to take that out and clean it and put it back in without having to dig in the grow bed. Another thing that I've done is I've put a timer on the pump. I've found that the grow bed cycles too often, and that's not healthy for the plants. It might work well for the fish, but it doesn't work so well for the other way around. And so I've got the pump on a timer, so it's on 30 minutes and off 30 minutes, and the bell siphon still siphons and provides the oxygen necessary for the fish when it dumps, but there's a 30-minute period when the system completely empties. And what's nice is if the timer shuts off in mid-cycle, this will actually provide a siphon path back to the tank and completely drain the grow bed. So it works out pretty well. Another thing that I didn't provide enough detail on it in one of the earlier videos was I did provide a bulkhead fitting in the bottom of this tank for the PVC connections, and I don't think I discussed that before. So we're just about to have another cycle here. Let's go down and watch it. There it goes. Okay, that's it for now. I will give you updates periodically as the plants grow and any developments with the fish. But so far, fish are happy and the plants seem to be quite happy. We'll see how they do as they grow. Alright, see you next time.